Welcome to Journey with Lay podcast. We discuss leadership, culture, and how to take your business to new heights. Your host, Lay Wang, is an adventurer, motivational speaker, and executive coach. Join us each week to learn how you and your team can reach your highest aspirations. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hey everyone, Lei Wang here, host of this show. This episode is brought to you by Journey with Lei, where I help business leaders create a culture of excitement, build highly engaged teams, and consistently perform at their peak. Start tapping into your powers of excitement and take your career and your business to new heights today. Go to journeywithlei.com or email hello@journeywithlei.com. Before introducing today's guest, I want to give a big thank you to Shannon Paulson, who introduced me to today's guest. Shannon is an author, speaker, and one of the first women to fly Apache helicopter in the U.S. Army. Shannon was on our show just a couple of months ago, and I will post a link to that episode in the show notes. So let's come to today's conversation, which is about how an introvert can become a badass leader. And our special guest is Jenn Donahue. If you were in the room with me today, seeing Jenn in front of you, then I bet you would have a hard time believing what you're about to hear. Jenn is a retired U.S. Navy captain and a civil engineer who works on large-scale, high-profile geotechnical projects. Over her 27 years military career, Jenn had built a bridge across the Euphrates River in the midst of Iraq War, commanded an 800-personnel battalion in Afghanistan, and constructed combat outposts in the middle of deserts filled with insurgents. Jenn has led earthquake and tsunami reconnaissance missions in places like Samoa and Japan, designed the seismic plans for a bridge over the Panama Canal, and built roads in the coldest climates in Ketchikan. Along the way, she mentored scores of young leaders. Today, Jenn runs JL Donahue Engineering. She also lectures at UC Berkeley and UCLA. Hi, Jenn. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, I just when I was reading your introduction, I really reminded myself of some of the. Sometimes when we're the only one, it's never. But sometimes when I'm the only one, where people don't think you are the one normally associated with this kind of accomplishment, it's so much fun. Is that right?
Oh, it really is. I love to surprise people. You know, a lot of times, whenever I was younger, I would just give my initials as JL Donahue, and they always thought that it would be someone completely different that would show up than me. And so it's always fun to surprise people.
Yeah, and look at you, I know you said you are introvert, but reading those introductions, we're probably picturing someone who is big and tall and like a so strong kind of person. Yeah, so I don't feel like it's so funny. Like that actually reminded me of one of my speaking engagement. The host, we had a lunch before the meeting, and when he saw me show up with a black dress, I'm also only 5'1", I'm a small lady, showing black dress. He was surprised. He decided, okay, don't tell anyone. So he went on the stage. When he did the introduction, he just said, this person, without saying she or he, and did this, did that, and the people were all waiting to see someone big and strong walking in. And came in a tiny lady on the stage. The people were, so funny at that time.
Oh, it's so true. A lot of times people just stereotype, especially, for those of us that might be introverts. There's so much that we can do, but you don't really hear about what introverts can do because we sort of hold it all in. So, when we get out there and people read about what we've done, a lot of times they think that we're something that is completely different than what you said, like might walk out on stage.
Yeah. So please tell us, So as an introvert, how did you decide to get into a profession that sounds so masculine, to me at least? And how did you make that decision, and what kind of challenge you faced at the beginning?
So one of my very first challenges is whenever I was a sophomore and I sat down in my engineering 101 course, and there was these two guys that were over on my left, and they looked over at me and they snickered. And they're like, "You're a little blonde girl. You can't be an engineer." And I was like, "Oh, it is on." Like, I'm going to take these guys down. And I studied harder than they did. I worked harder. I did extra credit. I did everything that I could do, like just to beat those guys who turned and snickered at me because they thought that because I'm a little blonde girl that I can't be an engineer. So it kind of started there. I was like, okay, well, I will definitely take on whoever tries to challenge me. And I think as an introvert, I think that's actually an advantage for us because we're very thoughtful about what we want to do. And we're very goal driven and we want to succeed. I mean, that's kind of what introverts are. We're just not very showy about how we do that. And so as an introvert, I love engineering and I love math and I love science. And I found other introverts that I could converse with. And just sort of along those lines, I just decided what I loved and decided, you know what, I don't care. And just basically got up the courage and just went out and did what I did. Joining the US military was one of the items that really tried to bring out a little bit more of the extrovert in me, just because it's required. So that was very helpful for me and very healthy to try to understand a little bit more about that. But I've still maintained my true introvert self and love what I do. And I've figured out how to maneuver in that space, in that environment, and still succeed.
Yeah, I love that story. And I think when people think about introvert, always think about just how the person is quiet, don't like to talk. But actually, introvert has a lot of strength that come with it. I think one of part, though, it's an introspection where you aware of who you are. Not only, yes, I am shy, I'm quiet, but also aware of our own strengths. And I think that's a great takeaway for many people who are listening is think about what is your advantage of being whatever label that goes with your personality or identity, but think more about your strengths instead of thinking what's something limiting me. So that's a great takeaway. And actually, I had one funny story on one of my climbing trip was I was the only woman on that team. And there's a media actually with interest because some other members on my team got some attention in the media. So one media came to interview one of the big guy in our team saying, "What do you think? There's a woman on your team." And the exact word he said is, "No problem, I can piggyback her." And I didn't say anything because I don't like to argue. I'm not a confrontational person. And I just, okay, we'll see. So I just mind my own pace, my own energy management, make sure that I'm not overexerting myself, do the right thing, right pace, everything. So halfway through the trip, the guide always tell people, hey, just look at Lei, how she's pacing herself. Everyone should follow her pace, not to just rush here and then slow there, and how she keep an even pace. And on the other side, the other guy actually got sick, but refused to admit his weakness. So he ended up at every camp, he had to take extra rest days. He said, "Oh, I cannot continue. I need to rest extra day." Then after that, he refused to go down. He said, "I want to continue." In the end, on the way to the summit, he collapsed. And we have to, a whole team bail to take him back.
Wow. Yeah, that's an awful story. It's like, you should have said, "Hey, I'll piggyback you." No.
Yeah, I'm thinking who is piggybacking who, because we have to haul him back together as a team.
Right. Wow. Yeah. That's it's so important to really understand, it's like we have to be ourselves, when we're trying to be, more than what we are, we could actually hurt not just ourselves, but our entire team. And it sounds like exactly what that guy did, is that he put the whole team in jeopardy because of his own ego. And he didn't understand like what his strengths and what his weaknesses are and didn't want to accept those.
Yeah, and I think that exactly the strength of being an introvert. We are aware of who we are, what's our strengths, what's our weakness. Like on so many of my trips, at the beginning, I fell behind because I was smaller, I was slower, I was weaker than other big people. But as altitude gains, everyone's body slows down, and that's when I catch up. So after a few trips, I learned that that's my strength. So I don't panic anymore. At the beginning, I show up at the slowest one, smallest one. I said, okay, well, wait until the end. I'm not going to say anything until the end, and then people are going to change how they see me. And I think that's, I would say that's a lesson for many people at work too, that the people who are quiet, who are not really good at boasting, bragging about themselves, don't worry too much about other people who are really good at bragging or show off. If you are really expert on this, eventually you have the opportunity to show your strengths. So just focus on what you're good at. Think what's your advantage.
Well, and I think one of the great things about introverts is I actually think they make some of the best leaders. Like you said, because we are very self-aware. We think about what our strengths and our weaknesses are, and we're able to kind of hone in on those and really be true to what we really feel is like our best strengths as far as leaders. You know, maybe you're an empathetic person, or maybe you're charismatic, or maybe whatever that might be. And we think about, you know, who we are and really kind of harness that. And I think that's what draws more people to us. And it's people want to follow somebody who's really genuine. You know, you can definitely tell when somebody's trying to be something that they're not, because they're trying to be something that they think they're supposed to be. And a lot of people don't want to follow leaders like that. They want to follow people who are very genuine. And most of the most genuine leaders I've had have all been introverts.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I bet you have a lot of stories in your career where you were leading a team as a quiet introvert leader, and how you turn your apparent quietness into a big advantage. I want to hear some story like that.
So one of the ones that I think was one of the defining moments for me is whenever I was in Iraq. I was the operations officer of the battalion, and what that meant was really I ran all the operations. So all of the convoys, all of the projects. And what would happen is that because we had to run our convoys at night at 2:00 in the morning, that's always when our convoys got hit by insurgents, they would get blown up by IEDs. And so I was very close to where a combat operations center was. And so at 2:00 in the morning, I would hear people coming towards my little hut, you know, and they'd knock on the door, you know, hey, ops, you know, our convoy got hit. You know, it's like, okay, it's 2:00 in the morning. And I'd go into the combat operations center, and I'm there in my PT gear with my hair kind of all over the place because I just woke up and it's 2:00 in the morning. And it's basically, it's all guys that are in the combat operations center. They're all the ones that are on the radios and talking. And I'm the only female in the room, you know, and, you know, here I am with my hair all over the place. And, you know, I just have to, you know, I have to just keep calm. And one of our convoy operators called me and said, hey, is Donahue there? He's like, I don't want to talk to anybody else. I just want to talk to Donahue. And I was like kind of shocked because typically the convoy commander talks to somebody else, but he wanted to talk to me. And so, you know, I sat down, you know, got on the phone with him. You know, he's out there, you know, his truck is broken down because it, you know, hit a mine, and, you know, and we're talking, I'm getting him through everything that he needs, you know, and then, so I thought, okay, well, that was actually rather special that I just got to talk to him just sort of one-on-one. And he got back to base, and I said, hey, why did you want to talk to me? And he says, you're the only person who really remains calm in any of these crises. He said, you were the one. Everybody else is running around. Everybody's frazzled. But I knew that if I talked to you, it would calm me down. It would calm my team down, you know. And he's like, I just wanted to talk to you. And I thought, wow, that's really something. And it really comes with just understanding who you are, understanding what you can bring other people if you can remain calm in those crisis situations. You know, for me, that was one of those, you know, one of the best moments of my life, just to hear that they wanted to talk to me because of that.
What a great story. Yeah, and I think that for a lot of women leaders out there, definitely sometimes we need to listen to the feedback to know this is telling us what's our strengths, because a lot of times we need our some validation. And I think it's great. Sometimes you ask people why you want to talk to me, why do you think I'm the best? You're going to be surprised to know, because for us, we probably think, yeah, just my nature, I'm calm, I'm not panicking. But actually, that's a rare quality for leaders. Many leaders in that situation, they stress out to see how many people throwing things up in those kind of situation, right? So we should never underestimate our strength and take those feedback and pat on our shoulders. No, that's why we are special. Love that.
I love that. And that's what I tell a lot of people as well. It's like, realize where you are because of what you do. Start thinking about all of the hard work that you did to get where you are. A lot of times we just go forward. It's like, hey, I'm in this position. And you always want to think about, oh, I want to get here next. I want to get there next. And I think people should just stop every once in a while and just realize, wow, I'm in a good position. Look at all the hard work that I've done to get here. Look at what I've sacrificed to get here, or whatever it might be. And I think people just need to stop every once in a while and just realize I'm here for a reason. I'm here for a purpose. And I think that helps a lot of people out when they start to get stressed out, or maybe they just don't feel like they belong where they are. If they stop and just think for a little bit about, I'm here for a reason. I earned where I am today.
Yeah, I like what you say, you earn where you are today. So I wonder if you could share a story that's the only woman in the room many times. How, like, what kind of challenges or what kind of like some tough situation you ran into trying to earn your position?
I'll tell you one time that I absolutely failed at that and
Sure.
what not to do. A couple of years ago, I was put on a board of engineers, and all of the engineers that were there are basically the godfathers of my very, very small niche of what I do in engineering. And so I'm sitting at the table, and it's all these old white guys, and we call them the graybeards because they all have gray beards. And I'm sitting at the end of the table, and and my little blonde girl, but they were calling me little blonde girl because they didn't know my name. And I actually got really self-conscious about that. And I went out and I dyed my hair brown because I thought that that would actually make me look smarter and that they wouldn't call me little blonde girl anymore. And what I didn't realize is that they weren't calling me that because they were trying to belittle me. Is they liked me, and that was their nickname for me. And I also didn't realize that I was there on that board for a reason. I had earned my position on that board, and I was so self-conscious about being around these other guys that I thought that I had to look smarter. So it's one of those, it's a horrible takeaway that I did something so, rash, to dye my hair to try to make myself look smarter. And I know we change our hair color from time to time, and it's okay. But I kind of deep down in my heart, I knew why I changed my hair color. So, I would just tell people that if they're starting to feel so uncomfortable in those positions, I needed to just stop and realize I had earned my spot on that board, and I didn't need to prove anything to them. They already knew that I was good enough to be there. And so I just needed to think more about why I was there and not let it try to take over how I felt about myself.
Thank you for sharing such a great lesson. And for a lot of people, especially in the workplace, I think many, it doesn't matter, female or male engineers, in whatever your colors of your hair, your skin, probably run into a similar situations. So what are some advice you would give to people in general profession, like especially people who are new into the leadership role? What should they take away?
Oh, this is where it's awesome. I love talking to new leaders because there's so much that you can do. I would say if you're in a leadership position for the very first time, I would say the very first thing that you need to do is you need to meet your team. And I know you're the leader and you're supposed to come in and you think you're supposed to do all these widespread changes to show how great you are as a leader. I would say that, remember, as a leader, it's no longer about you. and it's about your team. So get to know your team. Sit down with each one of them and really get to know them, not just their name. Find out if they like sports, if they have a spouse, a dog, a cat, whatever it might be. Find out what their goals and their aspirations are and understand that. Do they need something in order to progress to their next level? Do they need more tools, maybe more time, maybe more training, whatever that might be? And just keep little notes on all your folks so that I need to write things down. So I take notes on things like that. But get to know them, because what that's going to do is that if you open up yourself and you're vulnerable to say, I need to know and understand what you need, that's going to start to build trust. And it's going to start to build trust with you and your entire team. And then once you have that trust, then man, there's nothing that you can't do. Now you understand each one of your personnel, and you don't have to know everything that they know. Just have to know enough to understand them and what they need to be successful. That's what's really going to make you a better leader. And you're probably going to advance more quickly. And just be aware of along the way is that you are the person that is going to take care of your team. So think about leadership that way. And wow, there's so many great things that you can do if you have that attitude of always like looking to take care of your people, as opposed to always trying to look up and see where you can go.
Yeah, what a great advice. And I think also that probably helped to take away our focus on our self-consciousness. So we don't have to worry about our hair color or what clothes we're wearing. We focus on other people. Then you're going to realize no one really paying attention to you that much, because everyone's paying attention to themselves.
Right. And that's one of the things that's been most successful for me, is that I've really tried to look at, I'm in my position for a reason, and that I need to help my team. And because of that, my bosses noticed that as well. And they have been able to promote me probably more quickly than my counterparts, because they see the focus that I have and how I want to actually lead people, as opposed to it just being about myself and trying to make myself look good to them, because they can see through that.
Yeah, and I think that advice really applies to a lot of people, like who are trying to think how, because I have a lot of clients, and how do I become a C-suite executive? Right. So they are thinking about how do I advance? And always the advice I give them is what you just shared, is focusing on developing your team, developing other leaders. That make you a better leader.
It really does. It really does. I've had some really terrible leaders in my career. So I've had the opportunity to observe a lot of people and see that I'm a scientist, same time as being an engineer. And I like to pick apart, you can tell who, really wants to be, a good leader, and who just wants to lead to just so that they can be called a leader, and being able to kind of like pick apart, a lot of different traits that I've seen in both. And so it's been a really interesting career to observe both great leaders and not so great leaders.
Yeah. So now you have such a long career and experience behind you. So I know right now there's a lot of things on your mind. So I wonder if you could share, like, what are something on your mind, or say some challenges or something you're just trying to consider.
Well, one of the great things that's just happened recently is I just retired from the U.S. military. So after 27 years, I've finally retired, and I can kind of close that book now. It's a little scary at the same time, because it's something that has been with me for, more than half of my life, but I'm excited to start something new. Now, as a reservist, I do that part-time, and then I have my full-time engineering career. And my husband always jokes that I can't hold down a job, because about every 5 years I pivot to something different. I was in the military full-time, and then I become a project manager, and then I went back to school and got my advanced degrees, and then I started at another company, and then I started my own company, and now I'm retiring from the military. And so it seems like about every 5 years I'm trying something different. And I will tell people that it's like, if you have a plan, don't get married to the plan. Go and find what you love to do, and that might mean you have to change direction on what you're doing, but go find what you love, because that'll help you to continue to grow, and that'll help you like really live your life. So that's some of the things that I've been thinking about a lot recently, about all of this different change, and how do you get to that next level? What type of courage does it take to say, you know what, I'm going to try something different? And so I know that's something that's really, speaks to your heart as well, but that's something that I've been thinking a lot about lately.
Yeah, I think that's a great question for a lot of audience, because a lot of people are wondering, like, okay, if I'm keep on switching career, is that a bad thing or a good thing? So I think the answer is like in what you just said. If you be aware of why you are switching career. It's not like switching career or changing a job or studying new whatever adventure. There's a two sides of that. It's not absolutely right or wrong, depend on why you are doing it. Like for myself, I pivoted many times. I started in computer science as a programmer. That's my first job. I worked on Wall Street for many years in the banks, but worked on the IT side. Then I got into startup. I went to Wharton to get my MBA, because that time I said, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur, and end up coming out working in the investment management jobs. And then from there, I went into mountain climbing. Then from there, I became a motivational speaker, then coach. And I looked back at my life. I would consider first part of my life was like 1.0, because you can label myself, what's this, what's that. So that's a 1.0 where I was still on a track, some kind of career track. Then my 2.0 started after my mountaineering ambition started. That I found like I'm totally not following any track. I'm creating my own track. And then I hard to label myself 3.0. Where the transition from 2.0 to 3.0? Actually, transition just speed up, because every time when I made a pivot, when I changed the direction, because I find a new challenge excites me more, that I'm learning more. I feel like this is the best path for me to grow faster. If I stay on the same track, my growth is incremental. When I change the track, when I see something more exciting, I jump, I take a plunge into something unknown and learn something. I dramatically upgrade to 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. That's the time I choose to add a whole new skill set into the toolkit I have, and became a totally new person. That's how I would call exponential growth that happens versus incremental growth. So if you consciously choose to change, and not because trying to avoid something, but seeking opportunity to grow, then I think that's a good thing. Because oftentimes I tell people, I think our life is like an art piece. Like imagine myself as a vase, a piece in the museum. I don't want to be a blank vase all my life. I want to have so many colors. So I need to make a big change to add a striking new color onto my vase, onto my paint clothes, and become a more beautiful masterpiece. So in the end, then your life is so colorful. You have so many skills, so many experience, so many stories to share. And that's a rich life instead of only one straight line, one color. So pivoting is not a bad thing as long as you consciously choose why.
I absolutely agree with you. I like the analogy of using the vase. That's a good way to look at it. I think of it as my catalog of stories. It's almost like an entire book of growing and thinking about, this is what I did at this point in my life, and using that as, going on to the next chapter. Well, this is what I learned from that one, and now I can go on and do the next one. And so, yes, I absolutely agree. I tell all the people all the time whenever I'm lecturing, it's like, just don't get married to the plan. Have a plan, but just don't get married to it. And also I always tell, a lot of young people, it's like, also just don't follow the money. That's one of the biggest things that people, they think, oh, well, I have to make all this money and I'm so miserable at what I do, but I'm making money. And they don't realize that, you can actually have a much happier life if you find what you love. The money will come. It really will. Whenever I was younger, I worked in construction industry, and I was a project manager, and I had some really awful people, really toxic people that I worked around. So much so that my husband would have to hold a glass of wine out the front door and basically say, drink this before you come in the house, because I was so miserable at this job. And I realized it's like, but I was making great money, and I had to make a change. And, if you're so miserable and your husband has to tell you to drink an entire glass of red wine before you come in the house, it might be time for a change. It might be time to pivot and find what you love. And that's what I did. And I think that's when I went from my maybe 2.0 to my 3.0 and, started on that track. I think I'm at about 7.0 now. Like I said, I keep changing, but I love what I do, and I go find something that I love, and then I, switch and do something else that I love. So, but yes, absolutely agree. Go find what you love, continue to grow, continue to make your life fuller. That's what I would say.
Yeah, that's a heartfelt advice. And when I'm listening, I go, you're so lucky to have such a nice husband who offers you wine when you enter the home. That's so nice.
Because he knew I was so crabby whenever I got done with work. He didn't want to deal with me. So he would calm me down outside, make me go walk around the block until I calmed down. So.
Yeah, for people who are listening, if you don't have a husband or a wife who's going to hand you a wine, maybe take a walk before you get home. Maybe walk around the blocks and quiet down. Take some time off from anything. Have that quiet moment for yourself to think, to review about your day, about your life. So, and I like what you said, don't marry to the plan. But a lot of time when we are so busy in our business, in our work, we don't have time to think, what are we doing? We're just following a plan laid by other people. And that may not be what really connects to your heart. So It's important. It's okay to have a plan. I'm an engineer background. Like me, I started with engineer and still very analytical. I do anything. I manage anything in spreadsheet. Even when I started climbing, my climbing plan was in the spreadsheet. I'm totally engineer-minded person. But
I love that.
Yeah, but then I realized you make a plan to guide you to start, but that doesn't mean you have to stick to it, because you never know what's life going to show you at the next turn, the next corner. You never know what's out there, and be open. There's new opportunity comes up that give you exponential growth opportunities. Then take it. Don't stick to the plan. So have a plan to start, then be okay to accept something new, something surprise. And the change is oftentimes it means new opportunities.
It really does. You'd be amazed at what you can do. But it always takes just what you talked about. We get so busy with what we're doing that it doesn't give us time to just stop and think of, is this really what I want to do, as opposed to this is what I have to do. So I like your idea of just stopping long enough to say, maybe I don't want to do this. And I think that's actually why we're in the middle of the Great Resignation, where so many people are quitting their job right now, is that they've had time to reflect over the last 2 years if they really want to be in what they're doing. And I think that's why so many people have quit their jobs and they've gone to someplace new. I know my best friend did. She worked at a company, had a great pension, and she worked there for almost 12 years. But again, it was so toxic that she finally decided, you know what, I'm miserable every day at work. And she took a huge leap. She's a single mother, so that's really scary. And she went to go work for another firm, had to take a pay cut to do so. But she is so happy now. She actually is so much more joyous. She's a person that I remember, 10 or 12 years ago. She's joyful again because she's doing something that she loves. And you know what? Her paycheck is catching right back up. But she took that leap of faith. She gave away a pension and all of the security that she had over all this time, and just took the leap, and she's happy now.
Yeah, what a wonderful story. And I think it's a great thing that many people during the past 2 years became aware of, examining where they are and what they really want to do with their life. So I think there's a lot of positive side about this Great Resignation. And I know a lot of clients asking, how I'm going to handle recruiting. I cannot find the people. And a lot of time the advice I give them is, hey, look at the positive side. How you can motivate people to truly want to work at your company, at this job? What's in it for them, and what are you bringing to them to enhance their value, enhance their life? Because then you know people who truly going to stay with you, work at your job, that's people who are truly motivated. You want to have a team who are truly excited about their job instead of, okay, I have a full like the head count is full, but not everyone is fully motivated, only half a heart is there. It's actually worse than I only have half the people, but all the people here are so motivated, so excited.
Oh, it's absolutely true. And that's one of the things that I talk to a lot of corporations about is how do you actually maintain a dedicated, loyal, and motivated team? And a lot of it starts with trust. Like what I was talking to you about earlier is that if you're able to open yourself up and be vulnerable and trust people and talk to people and have empathy and give them the tools and the training and the resources that they need, a lot of times that's what they're looking for, is they're looking for a little bit of autonomy, a little bit of independence. They don't want to be micromanaged anymore. And if you show them that you trust them, then they have buy-in on their piece of the project because they own that now. Guess what? They're going to want to stick around. A lot of people these days, they're not leaving because of money. They're leaving because they're looking for the opportunity to go find a place where they feel wanted, where they feel appreciated. And I think if we start to really look at our leadership styles, the leadership styles that we used 5 years or even 2 years ago, those aren't the ones that are working today. We have to modify our own leadership styles so that we are still resonating with our teams today. Like literally in 2022, we need to make sure that we are being the best leaders that we can, and we can't use the old leadership styles that we used to in the past.
Yeah, thank you. And I know we talked about so many versions of our life, and I know you are contemplating what's next. So I want to hear what's next for you, how you're going to leverage your so many years of leadership experience. What's the next version?
The next version, which is probably 8.0 now. So my 8.0 is that I want to start giving back to others. I've had so many awesome opportunities to have good leaders teach me about what it means to take care of your people, that I'm going to start doing more public speaking. I'm going to become an inspirational speaker and a coach as well. So basically almost following in your steps. I want to help others. I want to help other women in tech, or somebody who just feels like I don't know why I'm here, and they just need to realize, wow, you have all these great opportunities that are inside you. Like, go out and, I hate to say it, go be a badass, because that's probably what you are on the inside anyway. Introverts of the world unite. We have so many great qualities. Let's go out there. Let's go out there and be our best selves, and we can help each other out, and we can be our own warriors and badasses. And, people will start to take notice, and you'll really feel like, hey, you know what? I have this. So that's some of the things that I am most excited about, is just trying to get out there and help others. Just go be the best leader that they can be, or just feel really comfortable in their skin and what they can go out and accomplish.
Yeah, I can totally feel your excitement, your enthusiasm in it. As we have climbed many summits in our own life, I found it the most joy now is not about me going to another summit. It's how we can help more people go to the summit together. So that's why I feel coaching is such a rewarding career, that you continue to grow with other people and you get more joy to see how other people are growing.
Absolutely. For me, it's time to give back. So that's what I plan to do.
Yes, thank you, Jenn. Thank you so much for being here with us today. So please tell us, how do people find out more about you?
They can go to my website, which is jendonahue.com. So there's Jenn with 2 N's. They can also find me on Twitter at Jenn Donahue and Instagram at I am Jenn Donahue. Those are some of the best ways. You can always email me as well. I'd love to hear what you have to say. I'd love to hear maybe some of your own accomplishments. I love hearing other people's stories. So please go check those out.
Great. Thank you so much, Jenn. Thank you for sharing so much valuable advice and insight with us today.
Thank you for listening to Journey with Lay. What's your most valuable takeaway from today's episode? What is one step that you are inspired to take? Start tapping into your power of excitement and become the leader you are always meant to be. If you dare to dream it, you can achieve it. Go to journeywithlay.com or email hello@journeywithlay.com. We'll see you again next week.